Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. This game is awesome, so I'm gonna review it. Whenever people ask me, hey, which is the best Arkham clone? People usually think like, I don't know, Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man, or maybe Batman, the Arkham series itself. Nope, this is the best Arkham clone out of all the games that use the Arkham combat system. This is the best one. And people sleep on this game, not the ones that know. The ones that know give this game its due. But a lot of other people that haven't given this game a proper opportunity have no idea what a sleeper hit this game is. So we got Shadow of Mordor, which is the first game, and we got Shadow of War. And that's it, that's all we're getting, as from what I've heard, we're not getting a third game. So that's it. This series is over. Enjoy it while it lasted. I think the last one came out in 2016, and the DLCs for Shadow of War came out in 2017, and that's it. That's all we're getting. This ride is over. The train has stopped. So, why do I gush over the combat in this game? I'll go into the details. First and foremost, this game does not make it into parry review, because even though it does have a parry, and you do the parry with the triangle button on PlayStation or the Y on Xbox, even though this game does have a parry, it doesn't feel visceral. It doesn't feel visceral like in other games. It just feels like you're pressing the attack button, but it just happens to be an attack that negates damage. But it really doesn't feel strong or special the way a parry is supposed to feel. So this isn't an episode of parry reviews. This game is awesome because once you reach a hit streak of 8, and then there's a skill that allows you to diminish it to 5. But anyway, once you do like 8 attacks in a row, like an 8 attack combo, you can do an execution, which instantly kills regular enemies and deals like a good bit of damage to elite enemies or generals. And that is what keeps the flow of combat fresh and fun and addicting in this game. So this is an older playthrough of mine in which I didn't quite know yet how to master this game. I'm gonna tell you how to play this game like a pro. In order to play this game, first you're gonna want to get the epic rune, which you do it by doing threat assassinations. You threaten a general or an elite enemy, you threaten them, then you kill them, then you can get the elite rune, and it's random, it's RNG. You can get the elite sword rune called the Even Star. And the Even Star, what it does is, once you generate a hit streak, meaning once you do an 8-hit combo, it fully restores your focus. Your focus is what you use to aim your bow. It's what makes the game go in slow motion. And I'm gonna tell you why that's important in a moment. Because you also want to get the River of Arrow runes, right? It's a rune called the River of Arrows, and you want to get this rune 5 times. You want 5 copies of the River of Arrows rune. The River of Arrows rune, what it does is that it has an X percentage chance of returning an arrow after you fire one. And once you get 5 copies of this rune, you're gonna have a 100% chance to always have arrows returned to you. Basically, you're gonna have infinite arrows, and if you can you can do a hit streak of 8 attacks, meaning if you can fill up your hit streak completely, which again I mentioned earlier, you can diminish that to 5 hits. So you're also going to have infinite focus. So you're going to have infinite slow motion and infinite focus. And this is why Shadow of Mordor is more accessible than Shadow of War. Even though Shadow of War is a better game because it's longer, Shadow of Mordor is too short. It's too short, but this little exploit, which isn't cheating, by the way. You can get all these runes without having a sheet or anything. But you basically become like this invincible slow motion god that lives in a perpetual focus state that never runs out of arrows. And you just maul enemies. And something that you've probably noticed here watching this footage is that most of the orcs introduce themselves. And that can get... It's not annoying because it's really fun, especially in Shadow of War, because there's so many introductions. There's like a guy that plays lute, and it's really fun and creative. But in Shadow of War, because there's not as much diversity in the orc introductions, it gets kind of boring having to hear each time you're gonna engage in combat with an elite enemy. It gets kind of, it gets old just watching an orc be like, "Oh, Ranger! Ranger, you're the Shadow Walker! I'm gonna eat your face!" It gets, you get tired of that after you hear it for the 20th time. But other than that, and that's like the biggest flaw in the game, that and the fact that this game is short, the game does get longer once you get the Bright Lord DLC, but Celebrimbor doesn't have access to the Even Star and River of Arrows rune exploit. So it's just way more fun to play the base game as Talion. So in this game, before you manage to get all those runes I just mentioned to do that fun little exploit, uh, it's gonna be tough dealing with some of the orcs. What you want to do is once you weaken an orc, you're gonna see the skull above his head. His indicator is gonna go green. Once an orc is green, you can grab them. And the way you want to be killing orcs in this game is you want to grab them and throw them off ledges. It will insta-kill them. You can even kill them off really short ledges, which you would think won't kill an orc, but it will. You just want to grab orcs and throw them until you get the runes I mentioned. Then you basically become an unstoppable god. You don't have access to that rune exploit in Shadow of War. First off, because those runes aren't there anymore. They changed the system. And also because the orcs become incredibly resilient to certain types of attack. They're resilient here. Like, orcs will resist you here in this game, but in Shadow of War, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'll cover it when I review that game, but just know that it's ridiculous. So, Shadow of War, great game. I've played it for hours and hours. I'm giving this game a 10 out of 10 on the fun and enjoyment scale. It's that good. I loved it. 10 out of 10. And I'm being biased. I don't care. Some of you are going to disagree. I don't care. I love this game. 10 out of 10 on the fun and enjoyment. So, thanks for watching. Take care and enjoy.